Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to continue with my series on the Silver Era legend and icon Reg Park. I've previously covered the changes that Reg Park made in the 1950s to his bodybuilding routine, namely for his chest, back and arms. However, in this video we are going to look at the changes Reg Park made to his leg routine in 1950 after he had won his first major bodybuilding competition. That's right, the Mr. Britain in 1949, of which I've covered in a previous video. It is said that after this win, Reg actually traveled to the US and met several Silver Era legends and trained with them, learning obviously from them and his experiences in the gym. And according to my own research as well, the changes he actually made to his leg routine apparently led to an increase in at least 1 inch to both his thighs and calves. Now, although Joe Wader, in a recent article I actually read, claims a 3-inch gain and a 2-inch gain respectively in his thighs and calves, I think that's probably more likely to be an exaggeration. So even so, an inch gain in both his thighs and calves is pretty impressive over 3 months. So today I'm going to present some of the changes he made to his routine, the exercises he started to include, in hope that it may also aid you in your quest for strength and muscular power. So I hope you enjoy this video. So as I mentioned, Reg Park won his first major bodybuilding competition, and that was the Mr. Britain in 1949. And he had followed a rather basic routine as follows. In the morning, he actually would train his lower body using the infamous 20 rep breathing squat routine, which I've talked about again and again and again. As well as this, he tried to obviously supplement the squatting with different forms of squatting, such as hack squats as performed in the day without a machine, and also doing exercises for his calves. But this resulted, as you can see, in a rather large and bulky appearance to his thighs. I mean, you can clearly see this is a pose from 1949 as Reg Park just won the Mr. Britain. So this is from Health and Strength magazine, on a special feature where it displays Reg Park and his physique after winning the Mr. Britain contest in 1949. He shortly after that win arrived to America. It was an actual present for him to travel to the US. I think his parents actually paid for it. And he met Joe Wader and several US bodybuilders when he started to train at the old Terlazzo. So that's the old John Terlazzo gym in New York. And he actually trained with some of the greatest bodybuilders in the US as his training partners. And this is where he actually started picking up a whole new variety of exercises he had not trained with before. Now, after winning the 1949 Mr. Britain competition, Reg Park's thighs actually measured 26 inches. Joe Wader actually claimed that they were 24, but I believe the Health and Strength magazine, the measurements given there. And so he actually was measured at 27 inches after doing the changes as follows in his thigh routine. So in 3 months, a 1-inch gain is pretty awesome. And what he started doing, for example, was instead of just doing breathing squats, he started doing squats, both normal squats and hack squats, elevated on a block, which obviously pushes the weight distribution forward onto your quadriceps. So you've got focus more on your vastus medialis, lateralis, as well as your rectus femoris muscles. And it's going to give you better delineation of your musculature. And it was actually very common to see many bodybuilders back then doing squats elevated on a block. But more importantly, he also added some very interesting exercises, such as the jumping squat, which is not seen nowadays. The jumping squat was very interesting in that it's an exercise that actually works your thighs and your calves. And basically you go down to about a quarter of your range of motion in a normal squat and jump as high as you can. And you actually just use a very light barbell and perform 10 to 15 reps for 3 sets of this. And he also actually started using the leg press machine because he didn't use one back then. And at least according to the article that I read. And he would perform it with his feet flared out at an angle to really hit the vastus medialis again. And he performed this for higher reps, 15 reps of 3 sets. So these are some of the changes, at least, which I read in a particular article as to the changes that Reg Park made in his routine when you compare the 1949 very basic routine to the 1950 routine. So here we can see Reg Park, for example, performing what looks to be almost 200 pounds on the squat using elevated, so having his heels elevated on a block. This is a very common thing done in the day to really bring out the delineation of the quadriceps muscles, the different muscles. That's the vastus medialis, the teardrop muscle, the vastus lateralis, the sweeping muscle on the outside, as well as those two very fine muscles in the front at the middle of the thigh, and that is the rectus femoris. So besides the 1 inch gained by Reg Park on his thigh measurement, it is also claimed that Reg Park's calves went from 17 inches up to 18 inches, and that's a total gain of 1 inch in 3 months using the following routine. That is a standing calf raise on a block for 20 to 30 reps for 3 sets, varying the foot position with each set, having the foot, the toes flared out in neutral and then in a pigeon toe stance over the 3 sets, and also performing the jumping squat for 10 to 15 reps for 3 sets. And I want to talk a little bit about the jumping squat for a second, because it's a very interesting exercise that is not performed nowadays. The article states a very interesting point, and that is of Olympic lifters and silver era bodybuilders back in the day that actually mainly focused on squats, and the ones that had great muscular delineation actually really did other exercises on top of the squats for their legs. And we're talking about functional motions such as sprinting, exercises such as sprinting, leaping, broad jumps, etc. And it is these springy, leaping and jumping kind of exercises that apparently improved the muscular delineation in their thighs. And if you look, for example, at Olympic athletes, especially sprinters, their thighs and calves are phenomenal. I mean, these guys have really fantastic musculature in their lower legs, and their upper and lower legs, and it has to do apparently with the training of these particular motions. There's a lot of range of motion in these exercises, and also a lot of force that is created during these motions. It's quite explosive, right? And so we can see Reg Park using a very light barbell is performing a jumping squat in this particular photo. Now, I know that in the article, as I stated just previously, that he only went a quarter of the way down, but here he's actually going almost parallel. So I think it's up to you to play around with the range of motion and see what works for you. But if you'd like to try the jumping squat, use a light barbell and see what effect it especially has on your quadriceps and calves, because apparently this exercise has had a fantastic effect on Reg Park's, or had a fantastic effect on Reg Park's leg development. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Reg Park's actual bodybuilding techniques and principles, I recommend Strength and Bulk Training for Weightlifters and Bodybuilders, written by Reg Park, available on my website, as well as How to Build Bigger Arms. Both titles written by Reg Park, available on my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com. Now, I typically like to end these videos with a comparison, and fortunately with Reg Park, his career was so well documented it is possible to do comparison shots. Here we have Reg Park in 1949 doing a single biceps pose, and although he's not flexing his thighs properly, I would guess, we can still clearly see that when we compare the photo to 1950, where he's already made these changes, traveled to the US, met Joe Wader, met all these other bodybuilders and trained in all these different gyms. I mean, his muscular delineation in his thighs is phenomenal in comparison. His thighs look rather bulky. They look large and bulky in 1949. But the separation, the muscular separation, is superb in 1950. So did the elevated, so having his heels elevated in the squat on a block, doing squats like that, doing hack squats like that, having his heels elevated, I definitely think that those changes, doing leg presses with his feet flared out to hit the the teardrop muscle, doing jumping squats, all these exercises he incorporated, I definitely think that they had an impact on his muscular delineation in his thighs. The upper body obviously improved too, but the biggest change is in his thighs. It is phenomenal. His calves also look to have improved in bulk and in shape. So my own opinion is that I do think that these exercises definitely helped. That's my own opinion, but it's up to you as well to have a look at these images and to judge for yourself. This is why I provide them. What do you think? Did you think that Reg Park's changes to his routine actually improved his physique? I definitely think so. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm. Leave me your comments and thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, please donate via PayPal or become a patron, where you have access to many articles which I use to base my videos on. And if you'd also like to find out more about old school bodybuilding courses and books to increase your knowledge base, please visit my website on www.goldenerabookworm.com. Anyway, that's it for me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Hope you enjoyed this video on the legend Reg Park. That's it for me. This is Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.
Hi everybody, I just want to recommend this phenomenal book, Vince's Secret Locker, volume number 2 by Carl Coyne. I've been looking at this for about 4 weeks and I can't put it down. If you get a chance, check it out. He also has a part 1 that I highly recommend also. Vince was the trainer to the stars and had an amazing, interesting gym that today there's still not equipment like it around. It was all made out of wood. He'll be on our radio show coming up probably in the next couple weeks or so. Have a great day, and again, highly recommend this book.